Please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us why you're running for Orange County Judge Group 17. What inspired you to seek a position on the bench after more than 27 years as a public defender?
Yes, my name is Joy Goodyear, and as you said, I'm running for Orange County Judge Group 17. I have been a public defender for more than 27 years. I've always wanted to be a judge since high school. I had a high school teacher that took an interest in me, encouraged me to go to college, and he brought a judge to come speak to our class. And that, listening to her and how she was able to help everybody, I was like, that sounds like the ideal job. So I started out in the public defender's office thinking that would give me a good background, a lot of time in court, a lot of experience. And I really enjoyed being a public defender. And of course, taking that plunge into running is always a huge decision. So I put it off a little bit, probably. Then I decided, you know what? I saw a lot of people, a lot of judges or attorneys were being appointed from the state attorney's office. And I thought, you know what? We need more public defenders on the bench. So I decided to run.
Yeah, that's amazing. Many voters aren't familiar with what a county judge actually does. Can you explain the responsibilities of the position and why this election is important for Orange County residents?
Yes, the county court is often called the people's court. So basically, it's where you come for misdemeanors, small claims, landlord tenant. It's more the court that you come to where a lot of times people don't have attorneys, which is why people refer to it as the people's court. So, and that's what I really love about it. And it is super important because it is the court that probably most people will have the most interaction with. You know, not most of us probably won't go into circuit court, but in county court, you know, you might be there to handle a traffic ticket or a small claims case, or hopefully not, but maybe a misdemeanor. And that's where you get to really interact with our court system.
Your campaign highlights your extensive experience as a public defender, where you've represented thousands of clients throughout Central Florida. How has that experience prepared you to serve as a fair and impartial judge?
I think that experience has been vital. As a public defender, we stand next to people that are charged with crimes. And so we're often kind of in the same position that somebody would be in, anybody would be in that comes before the court. So we're having to talk on their behalf, we're having to present their side, we're having to basically stand in their place. And that's given me so much perspective. I have practiced in front of many different judges, and I can tell you there is a very big difference in how someone feels or how a case is handled based on the demeanor of that judge. So I've seen how if you have a judge that's patient, compassionate, understanding, it makes the process so much easier. If you have a judge that is aloof, sarcastic, and arrogant, it can be just intimidating, overwhelming, and nothing can be resolved. I've also seen how, as a public defender, you have to know how to deal with the members of the courtroom, because it isn't just the parties, it's all the people inside a courtroom. And as a public defender, we are in court all of the time. So I believe that experience of always being in court, of having seen so many different cases and been in front of so many different kinds of judges, that's really prepared me to be on the bench.
You've spoken about ensuring that everyone who enters your courtroom feels respected, informed, and heard. How would you create an environment that promotes both fairness and public confidence in the judicial system?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. So I think when people come into the court system, the best thing we can do as a judge is to really listen to what they have to say, because judges have so many cases that sometimes you can just feel like you're a number. You're just being processed through. It's one size fits all being applied. And that's where people question the fairness. So, but if you take the time and you listen to the parties, you listen to the issues, you listen to their unique circumstances, that's where they can feel like you're getting a fair hearing. And that would be my goal.
Court delays and case backlogs can be frustrating for everyone involved. What strategies would you use to manage your courtroom efficiently while ensuring every case receives the attention it deserves?
Case backlogs are a big issue. I mean, as a public defender, I often have, 150 cases. I do work those down. I'm pretty diligent about that. But at the end of the day, it is hard when you have that many cases to get them through. And there is a tendency there to want to rush through them so that you get the numbers down. But what you have to remember is every single case is a person with a family, with responsibilities, with part of our community. So we can't completely rush it. So what you have to do is you have to come up with strategies where you can keep track of the progress of the cases while still making sure each case is handled individually by talking to the attorneys or the parties involved and asking them, okay, so where are we? What's the next steps? Are there any holdups? Is there anything I can do to help move this case along? And of course, it also involves hard work. It involves putting in those extra hours to make sure you're putting the time in to reduce those backlogs. And that is definitely one of my priorities.
Throughout your career, you've worked with people from many different backgrounds and circumstances. How has that experience shaped your judicial philosophy and approach to applying the law?
I think working with as many different people as I have in as many different circumstances, it has taught me that every case is unique, that every person that comes before you has a different story. You might have somebody who's homeless. That's going to require a much different solution than someone that has a full family system, a job, a home. You're not going to be able to use the same solutions for them. So it's very important that you look into the details, that you find out not just why they're there, because that's a superficial issue, but you want to get underneath and say, what led us here? How did we get here? And what do we need to do to help ensure they don't have to come back? And that would also reduce the backlogs. If people aren't constantly coming back, then that's a success story. So to me, it's all about trying to get into the cases individually and understanding them as they come to you.
Judicial races are nonpartisan, and judges are expected to remain impartial. How would you maintain judicial independence while serving a community with diverse perspectives and expectations?
As a judge, it's always important to be impartial. So you want to give equal time to both sides, because a case never comes to you just one person asking for help. It's always a person on each side. And you have to listen to both sides and try to come up with a resolution that's just and fair. And being impartial is crucial to that, because if one party feels you're favoring one side or the other, then they're going to feel like they didn't get their day in court. They're going to lose trust in our system. So it's very, very important that we maintain that impartiality to both sides.
You emphasize treating every individual with dignity and compassion. How do you balance empathy for those appearing before the court with your responsibility to apply the law fairly and consistently?
Well, applying the law fairly and consistent is very important. I'm a mother of 2 children, and with them, there's consequences, right? If they step out of line, I love them dearly, but there's consequences. And it's the same with the law. When people come before you, you can show compassion and understanding, but you need to also know there's consequences. And what you can do is you can explain that to them. You can say, listen, this is what the law says. This is what you did. And this is what the law calls for. So this is what's going to happen. And you try to help them and explain it to them. So you're not just, giving quick judgments and they feel like you didn't listen. They feel like you don't care. You do care. And that's part of the system. So I don't think it's necessarily, incompatible to be compassionate and still apply the law.
Public trust in the legal system is essential. What steps would you take as a judge to help strengthen confidence in Orange County's courts and ensure people feel they received a fair hearing?
So that's the most important thing, because a lot of people, when they talk to me, they're like, I don't trust anyone. I don't feel like the judges are fair. And that's why I think it's really important that we vote for our judges, that we go to elections and we select them, and that the judges are held accountable to the people. And then when you come in and the judge, again, it comes to the demeanor. They come in, you're not lecturing them, you're not ordering them around, you're not overly correcting them, criticizing maybe the way they're dressed. You don't do that. Instead, you're listening to the issues, you're showing compassion, and you're really trying to help them. And that's going to build that trust that is so vital for our system to work.
Finally, as voters prepare to cast their ballots, what sets you apart from your opponents And what message would you like to leave with Orange County residents about the kind of judge you would be if elected?
I think what sets me apart is kind of what we've been discussing, my 28 years of experience as a public defender. It's really opened my eyes to the diversity that's out there and how we need to be able to help all people. And that when people come before you, you need to look at them fairly and you need to decide the issues. And I think a lot of people don't have that experience. I think coming from a public defender perspective, you understand that it's not just the person in front of you, but it's also their family. And it's also the causes that lie beneath the surface. As I mentioned, if they're homeless, or maybe they're not homeless, but they're unemployed, what is it that's causing the problem? I think a lot of times if you don't have a judge that comes from that background of dealing with individuals and getting to the underlying problems, it's just easy to render a sentence and not really look at it. And I think we do have a lot of judges right now that come from a prosecutor background. Obviously, my opponent does. And I really think we need that public defender perspective, that perspective of knowing the people that appear before us.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you.
Thank you.